Welcome to the Do Zone, where we talk about real entrepreneurs doing real work, and they share their best tips, tricks, and stories about getting things done. I'm your host, Josh Thomas. Tag me at JT Literally and show me how you get things done. Every week, I'll pick the best post to feature across all my social networks. This podcast is brought to you by Factor One. If you're already a six figures in your business and you're looking to hit seven this year, there are three key shifts you need to make right now in order for it to be possible. Go to iamfactor1.com now, and I'll not only share exactly what those three key shifts are, but also how you can get them set up for your business in less than 6 minutes. Once again, that's iamfactor1.com. Today's guest is, sorry about that. Today's guest is Dustin Serviss. It doesn't take long when you look at Dustin's achievements, schedule, and overall output over the decades to see that being an obsessive personality type may not be a bad thing. Many of these traits Dustin has. It gives him a superpower to focus and have the courage to go on adventures. Adventures as it applies to where his family lives, adventures on where they spend their money, adventures in how he operates successful wealth management business. Dustin has an ability to share something complex in an easy to understand manner. With his ability, he is able to help make people better, more concise decisions, not only in wealth, but in how they prioritize things of true value in life. Dustin, welcome to the Do Zone. Tell us something you believe is the key to getting stuff done that most people wouldn't think of.
Thanks a lot, Josh. I'm excited to be here. One thing that I would say is for most listener, if you're an entrepreneur or aspiring to be one, you probably are a high thinking, high doing personality. So when you look at a spectrum of x-axis, y-axis of like low thinking, low thinking, low doing. So it doesn't take much effort to do it. It doesn't require much thinking. That I would say automate that. This concept is from Neil Pasricha. He wrote a book called The Happiness Equation, but automate low doing, low thinking. At the far end, I won't do the full spectrum, but high thinking, high doing. These are the things you need to debate. These are the things that with your spouse, you need the space to be able to debate those. So if we can automate our decisions, that allows us to debate things. I come from a financial background, and I do find a lot of stress for a lot of people. Listener, you may resonate, is talking finance with your spouse and money and spending and where do you allocate money. Now, we see, Neil talks about something called spousal influence awareness. And this is where, how happy you are versus how happy your spouse is. So if you're happy 80% of the time, your spouse is happy about 80% of the time. That means that 64% of the time, you are both in a happy state. So it's no wonder, giving yourself grace, no wonder you have the odd financial dispute. It's probably just because one of you are not in your happy zone. And there's 32% of the time that one of you will be out of whack. So circling back to high thinking, high doing activities, you need that space to debate those. So automate the things you can so that you have the time and energy to debate the real things.
Automate and debate. I like the way that you've just kind of sifted it into two categories here. These are the things that you automate. You should not be doing these things. You should get somebody else to do them. You should get a machine to do them, or maybe you shouldn't even do them at all. And these are the things that you debate. These are the things that are important. These are the things that are worth your time and energy to figure out, how do I do this right? And that's what I hear when you say debate. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah. Well, I just think that there's those things that you need to automate. One of the things, as most entrepreneurs will work on their computer at some point. And this is such a simple little thing, but it's just the first thing that popped into my mind when you said it, was I created an inbox. So my staff CC me on emails. Now, I don't necessarily need to do anything with them, but I want to be aware of them. I created an inbox. So create a rule in Outlook. Any emails coming from my staff go into an internal inbox. Any emails coming from clients or, accountants or lawyers go into the normal inbox. So the internal inbox from my staff, I check that usually 2 or 3 times a day, in the morning, noon, and the end of the day. So I'm not in there. I'm really going through there and just cleaning out the emails. My staff know to bold my name at the bottom of the email if I need to do something. They also know if it's truly that important that they need input on it, they phone me. So now we've got a system where that for me was, I had the sound on, I had the alert, so every email, bing, and it would pop up, and extremely distracting. So getting rid of that, again, an automation tool to then allow you to have more space to debate things.
I love that, and I'm so happy to hear that, automate versus debate. I'm completely stealing that from you, and so I'm curious. Tell me, you talk sometimes about having a spending mindset, and a lot of us, we're like, hey, I don't want to spend, I want to conserve. And so tell me a little bit about what it means to have a spending mindset. Is that good or bad, or how do we balance that?
I think it comes from a place of genuine, I watched my father work very hard when I was a kid. So to get somewhere in life, this is how I interpreted it and picked it up, was you had to work really hard. I don't know how hard, just really effing hard. So you work so hard that you get to a point of success that the so hard just gets moved further out. And so, there's this, how long does that last? And so at some point, that might need to change. Where the spending mindset comes into play is meeting high net worth clients that I have who are, 60, 62. They've got $5 million of investments. They only spend 200 or 150,000 a year. We do all the projections and we stress test them for if they got 0% return forever or -5 or whatever. And these people are still passing away with money, significant money, millions. So I'll say to them, well, whether you had 5 million or you had 2.9 million, you still, under these stress tests, would have been able to retire. So if the person, the punchline is, if, you die at, 65 and you still got money in the bank, whether someone dies at 65 with half as much money as you in the bank, but you both died with money, you're both gone. So if you could go back, Mr. Worked 30 years, sacrificed evenings, weekends, missed your kids' events because you were building this pot so that you're financially stable in the future, but yet you missed, a lot of life, and your health might be suffering and your friendships might be suffering. And again, mental nourishment is something that we talk about. What you put in your mind is important. And to make it all, the final is, you get to age 60 and you don't have many friends or hobbies because you've put so much into the business. It's hard to pick up hobbies when you're older. You don't really want to go through the small talk of meeting people at the club. And so this is a major thing. Would you, Mr. and Mrs. Client or listener, if you've got wealth, could you deal with a little bit less? So that spending mindset comes into, okay, if we check off our responsible buckets, and we know, it's just, some people might say real estate's the best investment, stocks the best, doesn't matter. Just think of emergency savings account, real estate, some sort of core investment, you fill in the blank, whatever that means. Maybe it's S&P 500, a dividend fund, or, dividend stock, whatever, but something that's got a high likelihood of consistent income. And then maybe you have a high risk bucket. That could be your penny stocks, your crypto, or whatever your high risk, but you're going to put a less into that bucket. If you've checked off all those boxes at the end of the month and you still made money, like your income is still higher, your company gave you more than those responsible check marks, then purposely spend it. And I use the analogy of you go in your basement and it's like there's a machine and a conveyor belt comes out of it. And every month, $10,000 comes out of the machine on the conveyor belt. 10,000 is coming along. The first kicker into the first, basket is your spending money, what you need to live on. Hopefully you're not spending more than you're making. That's first step. Next is you're going to pay for good insurance, especially you guys are in the States. It's a bigger deal than in Canada, but you should